Edtech World Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 3, and my thoughts on this episode. This is the best episode of both seasons, in my opinion. This episode is basically what The Bad Batch should have been about. Doing the dirty work of the Empire, dealing with the Separatist holdouts. This episode was fantastic, in my opinion. There are problems. I didn't like the ending of a certain character in this episode, but all in all, it was a great episode. I loved every part of it. I loved the storylines. I loved the returning character. I loved the music. The music is amazing in this episode. It feels so Blade Runner-like. I mean, this is why Star Wars is such a different thing to so many other franchises. The music is always the most important part, and in this episode they get the music right. That music is just amazing. But yeah, I love this episode. I think if the Bad Batch had just been this, if the Bad Batch hadn't have gone to the whole being rebels and all that stuff, I think this series pretty much be one of the best series in Star Wars history. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, and we've only got Crosshair to do this stuff with. But it's still a good episode. If you haven't watched this episode, I would watch it. But God, when Star Wars gets it right, it really can get it right. And this episode was definitely that. I'm going to give it, out of 10, I'm going to give it a 10. I mean, yeah, I've got a problem with the episode, but it's only a small thing. Well, actually, a 9 out of 10. Okay, a 9 out of 10. That's my final score. A 9 out of 10. It is a great episode. Again, The Bad Batch, it's a good show. It really is. There's interesting parts of it. But the biggest problem with this show is its main focus is Omega. And that's the problem. Because there's so much you could do with this show. There's so much you could do with The Bad Batch. But unfortunately, with Omega, they're not going to do a lot of the stuff they could do. And this series is just not going to be as good as the Clone Wars or as good as other Star Wars shows. Well, Star Wars films. The shows, this is pretty much one of the best. But anyway, it's a great episode. If you haven't watched the episode, go watch it. It is worth the watch. If for anything else, just the music alone, it's just amazing. So, a 9 out of 10. Let's go into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, the episode starts off with us on us on Deradix or something, D-Dix. So it's a separatist world, and the governor of the planet, well, the new governor, who's an Imperial, has decided to go to the capital of the planet to, take the authority away from the old governor, who's a separatist. So he arrives with his first generation stormtroopers, and he's pretty much going to take over. But the separatist governor says nope, and she then reveals that she still has working battle droids, and she takes the governor as a hostage. Now, I like this scene because, again, we're not seeing that much of the first generation of stormtroopers, which I think is a bit stupid right now. You need to start phasing out the clone troopers. We need to start seeing more of the Phase 1 stormtroopers, because, again, we're heading into the Empire days, and that's what we need to focus on. But yeah. So the governor takes the Imperial governor hostage. She sends her demands to the Empire. The next scene is Crosshair waking up in his quarters, then going down to the mess to have his dinner. He tries to sit next to two stormtroopers, two clone troopers, but they do what they usually do, which is they move away from Crosshair. But before they did that, they mentioned something about the recruitment bill going on in the Senate, and the clone troopers kind of worried about that because if they get more funding for recruitment, that's just more troops that are going to start replacing them as the main army of the Empire, which is going to pretty much put them out of their job. And I like this little detail in the show because it shows you putting in some lore into the world, and it kind of shows that the clone troopers are starting to worry about, you know, the new guys on the block, the stormtroopers. But anyway, so Crosshair's about to have his dinner. Then he gets a call to go meet with Rear Admiral Rampart, who tells him he's going to be sent on a mission to rescue the Imperial Governor of Daretex, whatever, the Separatist world. So Crosshair prepares to head off, and he meets the commanding officer of the rescue team, and it turns out to be Commander Cody. Now, I'm happy that we've got Cody back. I think Cody was a great character, you know, other than what he did to Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he was a great character in the Clone Wars, and to see what he does in the Empire days, I thought was going to be interesting. Unfortunately, this is my problem with the show. Cody doesn't seem like he's all the way in on the Empire. He kind of seems to be like Rex was, like all the bad, well, most of the Bad Batch. He kind of seems to be having one foot in the Empire and one foot out of the Empire. And that's the problem. Because we all remember what happened when Cody was given Order 66. It didn't take him long to say fire at Obi-Wan. You can't just have Cody be this good guy. He's not a good guy. Yes, he was in the Clone Wars. Now we're in the Empire days. I would have preferred to have seen him being more aggressive, being a bit more like, this is the Empire, there's less rules to deal with. Without the Jedi, we can now be more free to do what we have to do. I would have liked to have seen that, but it kind of seems like Cody's just the same Cody from the Clone Wars, which I think's a mistake. But Cody tells Crosshair he's glad to see him, and he tells him about the mission. They get on the transport and head off to go rescue the Imperial Governor. When they get there, the mission is basically pretend to be a peace envoy to try and negotiate the release of the Imperial Governor. But what's going to happen in reality is they're going to burst out and pretty much arrest everybody they need to free the Governor. Well, that's the plan. We then get a scene between the Imperial Governor and the Separatist Governor, and she pretty much tells him, this is not your world, this is what we... she explains about what Dooku saw for the future of the Republic, that she believed him and that he was right about what was going to happen to the Republic, the fact it was too corrupt, the fact it was controlled by all these corporations, and how he was right in the end about what was going to happen to the Republic turning into the Empire, how he might have predicted this was going to happen. And I kind of love this backstory we're getting about the Separatists, because, you know, if you actually think about the Separatists, you actually think why they left the Republic. I mean, everything that they said was wrong with the Republic was true. It was corrupted. It was controlled by corporations. You know, and you kind of got to think to yourself, like, would you fight for that Republic? I mean, I've always said, I'd love to fight for the Republic. I want to fight with the Jedi and all that stuff. You know, when you're kids and all that shit. But when you actually think about it, would you want to fight for the Republic? That actually is corrupted, that is controlled by corporations, that you don't have a lot of freedom? Or do you want to fight for people that just want to be free of a tyrannical government that's corrupted? I mean, that is the fucking storytelling you need to have in Star Wars, because it gets you to think, and it makes the Separatists more, likable. It makes them more of something you'd actually want to join and fight for. And in this episode, I wasn't really on the clone side. I was more on the droid side, because what's the governor actually asking for here? She's not asking for money. She's not asking to take over territory. No, she's just asking, I don't want this person who you're forcing on me to be in charge. I want freedom. I want my freedom from the Empire. And that is just great storytelling. But she pretty much figures out that the Empire's not sending a negotiation team. They're going to send a death squad to kill her and to kill everybody there and to free the Imperial governor. So, so she's already made a plan to pretty much cripple the attack team before they get to the planet. Before they get to the city. So, the Imperial shuttle comes out of warp, heads down to the planet, gets a signal from the city that they have been cleared to enter the city. But when they approach the city, the governor sends out a bunch of droids with rocket launchers. They fire a bunch of rocket launchers at the shuttle. They hit the shuttle. It crash lands outside the city, and the droids just pretty much get ready for. Well, the droids go out to make sure there's no survivors from the shuttle. But there are some. Crosshair and Cody lead what's left of the clone troopers through the city. To go up to the city, where they try to get in the city, but there's a bunch of droids defending it. The droids start firing down with the tank that they have. But in this scene, Crosshair reveals a massive weakness in the Separatist tank, which is if you can get a good shot in the barrel of the tank, you can pretty much blow up a Separatist tank, which I thought was an amazing scene. Especially when you see how Crosshair's just like trying to get them to put the gun in the correct position so he could shoot down the barrel. It was an amazing scene. So Crosshair destroys their tank. The droids retreat back into the city where the clones run into it. Cody splits the forces up so that they can divide and conquer. Cody and Crosshair head to the centre of the city while the other clones go around the sides. I think that's what their plan was. And yeah, whilst they're walking through the city, they destroy some droids, but you start to see Cody trying to talk to the civilians. Like, he's a little shocked that the civilians are scared of him, because he's not used to this being a clone trooper. It's usually he's there to rescue people, or the people are happy to see him. He's not used to people being scared of him like this. But I would have liked it if Cody had asked these people, like, why are you so scared of us? We're here to help you. And maybe one of the civilians says, we didn't ask for your help, we didn't want you here. And maybe Cody would have then realised that maybe he is fighting for the wrong side. It does kind of seem weird that Cody's only now figuring out he might be fighting for the wrong side. Especially from everything Cody's done up to this point. But anyway, so they make it to the centre of the city. They fight some droidicas. You get this great scene where they try to throw a grenade at the droidica, but it misses. Then Crosshair throws a grenade at one droid. It hits him. He shoots that droid, and the droid then slides into the droidica shield and then blows up inside the droidica shield. That was a great scene. Anyway, they make it to this to the government building. They get inside. The governor has a shitload of commando droids activated, and then you have Cody and Crosshair having to fight them, and they pretty much struggle with the commando droids because they are pretty effective combat units, but they manage to defeat them. Crosshair uses his discs again to kill a couple of the commando droids. They then realise that the droids are being led by a tactical droid, and if they destroy the tactical droid, then the droid army is pretty much useless and will be easily defeated. So they try to figure out where he is. They find that he's at the top of the tower they're inside. They head up there, trying to get him, fighting commando droids all the way up. But when they get near to the top, there's 2 commando droids pretty much suppressing them. But Cody manages to destroy one, and Crosshair throws him a disc because he gets injured in combat in the middle of the attack, and tells Cody to throw the disc as hard as he can so he can get a shot on the tactical droid. So Cody does that. He gets shot when he tries to do that. He throws the disc and Crosshair fires, kills 2 commando droids and the tactical droid, and that's pretty much victory for the Empire against this small small separatist outpost. So Cody and Crosshair make it into the office, whatever it's called, and the separatist governor has the Imperial governor hostage with a blaster at his throat. And I just got to say, I really wish the Imperial governor had died, because he is such a little bitch. I mean, seriously, he's whining like a twat all the way through. But in this, you see Cody trying to negotiate with the separatist governors. Like, listen, I don't want to start another war. You don't have to die. We can talk about peace. And then you had a separatist governor talk about how she did try to talk peace with the Republic, and that there was a plan in motion. They even mentioned the episode where Padme and that separatist senator tried to make a peace deal, but that kind of fell through because the Emperor didn't agree with it. But there was kind of more to it. I kind of think Cody should have mentioned the bombs and all that stuff. But anyway, Cody talks it down and says, I'm not going to kill you. All we want is peace. Just trust us. And that's it, basically. She agrees then, lets the Imperial governor go. And this little bitch pretty much says, kill her. And Cody says, well, I'm not going to do that because I said if she released you, I'd let her live. But he doesn't care. Demands Cody does it or he'll be put on a charge or something. But Cody won't do it. So Crosshair just pretty much shoots the separatist governor. And you can kind of see on Cody's face that he's ashamed of what he's done. That he talks it down. And you can kind of see that he now knows for sure that he is fighting for the wrong side. So the governor tells them to leave the body of the separatist governor in the centre of the city as a warning to the locals not to push their luck with the Empire, basically. And so Cody and Crosshair head back to Coruscant, and the governor pretty much takes over the planet, and the new first generation stormtroopers arrive and pretty much take the city over and pretty much force the people to work and to pretty much do what the Empire does. Take what they want and, control who they want. So they go back to Coruscant. Cody then has a private conversation with Crosshair, and he kind of asks him, like, do you think it was the right decision? Do you think the Empire is a good thing? All this stuff, and says, we made decisions that we have to live with. We're not droids, we're clones. Decisions that we make, we have to live with. And we can't just be doing what we're told. We're not droids, basically. Sorry. And Crosshair pretty much doesn't really care. This is what his job is. He's a soldier. He just wants to follow orders. But Cody does get a little bit through to him because you start to see that even he's starting to consider, are they doing the right thing? Should he be helping the Empire? The next scene is Crosshair in his room again, pretty much still considering was it the right choice to kill the Separatist governor. He then gets called to see Rampart again. Rampart says he's cleared for duty and he's going to send him on a secret mission, which is basically dealing with the Bad Batch, basically. And Crosshair asks about Commander Cody, where he is, and the governor, and the Admiral tells him Cody's gone AWOL, and then starts to make a joke about the clone's loyalty not really being that loyal to the Empire. And then the episode ends with Crosshair walking down a hallway with his helmet on, and that's how the episode ends. I don't like the Cody ending because it just seems a bit weird to me. It seems weird that he's decided now to just quit the Empire after all the stuff he's obviously done before this. Like, when Cody tried to kill Obi-Wan, as soon as he couldn't really find Obi-Wan's body, he did pretty much take prisoner all those innocent people on... What's that planet called? Anyway, the planet where Obi-Wan found General Grievous. Utapau! There you go, Utapau. Cody took all those people as prisoners. You think that was a good thing? You think they were going to be, put into good prisons and weren't going to be tortured or anything? Come on, Cody's a bad guy. I get a lot of Clone Wars fans liked him. I get he was a good guy in the Clone Wars, but he's an Imperial now. They've got to let him be an Imperial. Just because he's a fan favourite doesn't mean he can't be a bad guy. It's so ridiculous. But other than that, it is a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I think it's the best one they've done so far. And yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 from me. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment World Soldier. Bye.